Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel. And of course, it's Sam. You could tell my voice is not the same as Brian's. I am solo hosting today, but don't worry, I am not by myself. I am very excited to welcome back to the show, Rob. Welcome back, Rob.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you back on the show. We had you on the show not too long ago. I remember we talked about your sailing on the Fantasy that you guys went on like right after a pretty bad car accident, actually.
Yeah, so that was about a year and a half ago now. Of course, Disney's real good about the, give us money and we'll give you a discount if you give it to us before you get off the boat discount. So we did that, and we still had a fair bit of time left on that, but we kind of wanted to do Europe this past summer. So that's how we ended up booking.
Well, a placeholder is actually a super smart way to book any cruise. Of course, you get that, if you're not sailing concierge and you're not sailing on certain blackout dates, which are usually like the holidays like Christmas, maybe Thanksgiving, and then, there might be some spring break blackouts or other holiday blackouts, but I think placeholder is a great way to go. And they're good for 2 years. For anyone who doesn't know, what I'm talking about, you have to book it while you're on a cruise. You're not actually booking your next cruise. You're just buying the placeholder, which is like a $250 deposit, I believe. And then you apply it to a specific cruise as long as you sail within 2 years of when you purchased that placeholder, I believe. So anyway, a very smart idea to wait, and a very good way to get 10% off of your next cruise, as long as it doesn't fit in one of those blackout dates. And if you don't use that placeholder, guess what? It just gets refunded to you. So make sure I tell people, don't use a gift card, because then you've got to remember where that gift card is. So use a credit card for a placeholder, unless you are somebody who tracks your gift cards really, really well. Because that if you end up not using it, you want that to be refunded back onto your credit card. Well, Rob, this was your second cruise that we're going to talk about today. Remind folks of your Disney background. Obviously, I mentioned you went on a previous cruise on the Disney Fantasy. We're going to talk about a European cruise on the Disney Fantasy, but remind folks your where does your love for Disney come from? And did you have I don't think you had any cruising experience before Disney. Am I right?
Well, my only technical one was the Big Red Boat.
Oh, that's
many years ago. Yeah. So we got down there a couple of times when I was a kid, when I was like, I think 7 and 9. And then not really again for quite a while, but went as an adult a couple of times. And then my kids are super spoiled. And so they've been just about every year they've been alive. My daughter is now 8. And I believe she's been to Disney World, that is 7 times, despite pandemic and different country living. And so we had wanted to give the cruise a try for a while, and then finally got around to it last year. Loved it, enjoyed it. Weren't sure whether it would be like quite as often of a thing for us as the parks, sort of our religious annual scheduled thing,
right? At Walt Disney World specifically, right?
Yeah. But I mean, part of the consideration for us, honestly, we had talked about going actually to Japan this past summer, which has been a dream for me for a long time. But we have an addition to the family that is now a first-time cruiser.
Yeah.
So baby Sam is almost 1 now and was about 9 months on the cruise. And we
said, you named your kid after me, Rob?
Right? Yeah, Samuel.
I'm so flattered.
Well, it was so funny. We were at Disney. This is a story for another time. But we were at Disney shortly before he was born, and had waiters in subsequent days, Sam and David, and that was actually names both first and middle that we were thinking of. And so we figured that was a sign from the Disney gods or someone to name him. So it was very funny. Like a little while before he was born, Samuel, David, Hunter. So. Anyway,
I love that. Do you know that I actually, if I was a boy, I think I was going to be either David or Daniel. So yeah.
There you go. There you go. Well, we just figured taking a 9-month-old to Japan might be a bit much.
Yeah,
Certainly, taking a 9-month-old to Europe was a bit much, but doing it with kids club and
right. The nursery,
the
yeah.
nursery to help out with was great. And we actually added another member to our party this time around. So we've got a dear friend. Very technically, she is our nanny, but she lives around the corner from us and has become a member of the family. So Lisa is her name, and she joined us on the trip. Her first time to Europe ever, and only her second time on an airplane in the last like 30 years. So we've gotten her into traveling. It's awesome to have her there and have her help and support with the kids. So
Oh my God. So wait, so then you were a total of five? Six. So you have
three.
that's
Yep,
right. You have the other older kids. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You have two of the yeah.
And we were smart. I think I must have seen this coming because I did book two of the prepay option on the first cruise. So we had the two rooms, and it was a good idea. I think I don't believe the only class of room I think six would have fit in even with a baby would have been a concierge suite. So we did book two interlocking rooms, which are adjoining rooms, which was nice to have that space. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That and you're 100% correct. If you are a party of 6, the only rooms that could hold a party of 6 are like the suites in concierge. And not even like a one bedroom. You're talking I'm trying to think. I'm not sure how many the 2 bedrooms hold. So it might not even be a 2 bedroom. I know the Royals will hold 6, of course, but you're talking about multiple steps above like a regular, veranda or ocean view rooms or of course inside staterooms. Whereas with 6 people, you can very easily get two regular staterooms, and you can of course request or try to get adjoining ones, especially if you book on the early side. Then of course more adjoining rooms are available. If you do like a GTY, one of those guaranteed categories, that's a lot harder to get adjoining rooms. You can put in a request, but most of the time it won't happen. I mean, there are people who get pixie dusted and they end up with adjoining rooms, but you really got to book your exact room if it's crucial, like with you all having younger kids and having a baby, it really is probably crucial to have that adjoining room for the 6 of you.
Knowing that, we probably got a little lucky because I think the cruise was in July, and I think we booked only like February or March. Like it wasn't a super early booking this time around, so we were fortunate to get the adjoining ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you had been considering Tokyo. You pivoted to Europe. Um, why did you decide Europe? I mean, why not just do a sailing? You guys live, you live in Canada, but you live on the eastern end of Canada, and so why not consider, I don't know, a Bahamian cruise, a Caribbean cruise out of Florida, much closer, much shorter of a flight than taking a 9-month-old.
Well, I figure, the summer we kind of like to do like a big trip, and the previous summer we'd done a couple of road trips, done Chicago and done Boston, but hadn't been to Europe with the kids for a couple of years, and so we figured, if we're gonna do it, take the time, spend the money, let's go big with it, and just knowing that. We could sort of see a lot and be taken around and sort of have our floating hotel room there when we needed it was just logistically a lot easier. We did a Europe trip a couple of years ago with the two kids when they were younger, where we did 2 cities and we had to fly between the cities, and like it was a lot, right, with the two young kids. So this just logistically was a little bit easier to handle, even with the baby around.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, though. I think in general, whether that's on a large ship cruising or river cruising, it is a lot of logistical stuff when you're traveling between cities in Europe, especially with, different, train systems, plane systems, bus systems, different languages, different currencies, even potentially, depending, if you go outside of an EU country, so it is a lot of just coordination. And when you're on a cruise ship, all of that is seamless. You don't have to worry about anything. Yes, you just have to get to your embarkation port and get home from your debarkation port. And for you, that was the same port. That was Barcelona, which makes it also really easy. You have a round trip rather than sort of a one way. Now, tell us, like, I assume you flew probably out of Detroit. That's probably your largest international airport near you.
So Toronto,
Oh,
Detroit's usually a little bit cheaper, but Toronto often has the directs.
Gotcha.
And so we had pretty smooth departure and return. An hour or two delay. here and there. But the one thing I'm curious, maybe Toronto just sends bigger airplanes or something. But the one little annoying, and again, first world problems, but in Barcelona, I guess the airplane does not necessarily come to the gate. And so
Oh,
you go to the gate and then you take either the stairs or an elevator down literally to the runway, and then you get on a bus and you
yes.
ride the bus for 15 minutes and then you walk up the airplane. And so that was a surprise with little baby. And so getting off the plane, it was probably a good hour and a half, 2 hours, because we were at the very back. And so we had to wait for everybody else to offload, everybody else to ride the bus. And I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but we missed our pre-booked transfer when
Oh
we got
no.
in. And so some good stories to tell about that. But you can
Oh
imagine
my
three
goodness.
kids and yeah,
3 kids, 3 adults. That's
red
yeah.
eye.
Red eye, you're exhausted. I will say, I have found a lot of the larger airports, and I don't know if it's a European thing or it's just larger airports that do that whole bus thing. I feel like we've done that. I think we did that in Munich when we arrived, when we did our ABD a couple of years ago. Um, I think we've had to do that maybe even in Heathrow in London. It is not uncommon, and it does add a lot of travel time. Yeah. So tell me what happened. You fly in on a red eye. How did you deal with your transportation?
So I had thought I was being very wise and good knowledgeable traveler here, and had booked 4 separate what I thought were private transfers from airport to hotel, hotel to port, port to hotel, and then hotel to airport. And you know what? It's on me because I probably could have dug in a bit and realized this, but I think it was one of these just sort of layer on a layer on the taxi system. And so we had basically made 4 probably marked up 3 times taxi reservations, right? And so we get in and I managed to call and tell them, hey, we're on our way, we'll be there. And then when we got there, the driver, I called again and the driver had left already. And so I'm tired and cranky and kind of fighting with people on the phone sometimes. But the guy on the other end just says, send us an email. So we were really in terms of that thing we had paid for, out of luck. I guess the good news is Barcelona has a pretty good taxi hailing system there. And it took a little bit. We didn't want to necessarily split up. So we did have to wait a bit for something big enough to fit 6 people and
And all
6
your luggage.
large
Yeah.
suitcases, right?
Yeah.
But we got in just fine. The other 3 taxis did show up. So it wasn't a scam necessarily. It was just the guy had to wait more than an hour because it was more than an hour from touchdown to getting there. But here's where I got a little victory, because they didn't do anything for us on landing and didn't, we were pretty frustrated, right? We had paid for this thing. We had gotten there. We'd called them and said, we're on our way to the taxi.
Right.
I did dispute it on the credit card. And I got all 4 rides back.
Wow.
Which I think was kind of fair in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah.
I tipped the drivers in cash well, so they're taken care of. But this sort of 25% scammy taxi service was, I was
Yeah.
vindicated. So that was nice,
Yeah.
eventually.
Well, I'm glad you got vindicated on that. Yeah. I mean, I will say that's where having a travel agent that has a sort of reputable recommendation for
Hmm.
private transfers. Of course, you are still going to pay a little bit more for those private. So I'm talking usually a town car or something like that. You are going to pay a little bit more, but you are going to have somebody who's going to wait for you, and they're going to be tracking your flight and all of that, and they're going to also be familiar with that airport. So I know we've used Black Lane in multiple places, and they are a little bit pricey, but they are really great on the service end of things. So just, I everybody, you do you, right? I'm not here to plug any particular, transportation company or anything like that. I don't have a sponsorship deal with any transportation company. But there are some great reputable ones out there, and if you're working with a great TA, they can recommend that as
And
well.
beware the DIY model. That's my
Yeah.
lesson. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing like showing up when the baby has not slept all night on the red eye.
Oh.
But we did manage to get checked in early. We had a hotel for 2 days, and that's not often the case. Like it was available for us
Oh, that's awesome.
right upon check-in, so we were able to get some rest. And yeah, we had 2 days in Barcelona to explore, actually on both ends. So
Awesome.
we had a nice little Barcelona stopover before and after as well.
Oh, that's great. I gotta ask you about travel with an infant because you've got, there's the infants. I mean, 9 months, he's still an infant. They
Hmm.
need a lot of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
did you like schlep all the diapers with you? Did you buy them when obviously you have to schlep some for the flights and whatnot, but like, did you buy once you landed? Like, what kinds of things did you like leave home versus bring with?
Well, so we schlepped a lot, and I'm not going to lie. I mean, getting back on the plane at the very end, riding this bus, I'm carrying the baby and carrying a car seat and carrying everything. I actually like got a little bit of a shoulder injury. I'm
Oh,
embarrassed to say, like
I believe it.
you turn 40 and like so it's been a couple of months now and it's still there. I will like to turn this around, Sam, and ask you a question.
Yeah.
You're reasonably well off, but not not completely budget. But
Right.
you care about value,
I
right?
care about value.
You care about
I
value,
would, yeah,
and
I would
so
say we do not have unlimited funds. Let's put it that way.
And so you are set to fly from Toronto to Barcelona, and you've got two young children and an infant and a helper and a spouse. Do you book a seat for the infant or not? Because my wife and I had different opinions on that decision. And I won't reveal mine until I hear your thoughts.
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh God. I This is so hard. That's a really tough decision. Are we flying in coach or are we flying in business
We're
class?
flying in coach, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Okay, we're flying in coach. I am booking a seat for that infant. I'm gonna put it
Well,
that
you are team Emily then, because
way.
I booked the flights, right? I booked
Yeah,
everything, thinking that it wasn't really a big deal, right? And
yeah.
like we've got three adults to move them around,
Right, to
right?
pass him around
To
between.
pass them
Yeah,
around, and it turns out that was not a very popular decision. So
yeah.
thankfully, like 2 weeks before, we were able to add yet another seat
You really had another seat, so
without
you
much
got
additional.
3 and 3.
So we
Yeah,
got 3 and 3, yeah. And
yeah.
coming down, we were like, for those that aren't visual, we were like three in front and three in the back on the left side of the plane. But actually, coming back on the way, we were on a plane that had four seats in the
In
middle.
the middle,
In the
yeah,
middle, and so I
yeah.
think we were like 4 and 2,
Mhm.
and that was so much better. That was so much
Oh,
better because you had
really?
sort of
Yeah,
three exit
yeah.
opportunities here and there, right?
Oh,
But
versus just the 2, yeah. And
yeah,
also it's probably easier to pass the baby across the aisle too than to
everybody,
pass
yeah.
backwards, right? Yeah, because you have to really stand up to pass the baby backwards or forwards, whereas if you're just passing across the aisle, nobody probably needs to stand up. Yeah. Yeah, I'm team Emily there. I mean, I wouldn't book it if I was staying like, business like premium economy, business class, certainly for, lay flat first class for sure. I wouldn't book a seat for the baby in there. But like it's sort of the more room I would have, the less likely I would be to book the baby a seat. But in economy, I'd probably book the baby a seat.
It's a
So
reasonable decision, and it's ultimately
yeah.
the one that got made. So
Yeah,
all's
yeah.
well that ends
Well,
well.
good job in listening to your wife. I mean, happy wife, happy life. I'd love to know, Rob, just before we jump to, I want to jump to, of course, to the cruise, but I'd love to know what, like, let's say, like your two favorite things to do that you guys did in Barcelona. It doesn't matter whether it's the front end or the back end, but I'm just curious, what were the highlights from Barcelona?
Oh, that's a good question. So we did book like a private tour geared towards kids, right? And so we had a lovely tour guide that just walked us up and down and had little puppet shows for the kids and stuff, and just was very sort of interactive. And so I had been to Barcelona once at the tail end of a Contiki tour,
Oh
and
yeah, go
so
Kentucky.
I
Yeah,
was very hungover and did not really get off the bus much on this Contiki Barcelona stuff. So I'd been there, but not really seen it. Right.
yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. Just that tour. And honestly, I should have. I've got great notes on the cruise and not so much on Barcelona. But
That's
there was
okay.
there was one time where I got up early before everybody else.
Hmm.
And you can imagine on a trip with three kids and three adults, it's like a little bit of self care time is nice. And so I managed to get in a run at about 6 in the morning before it got too hot, and I ran down to the pier, and so I actually saw the cruise ships, which is kind of cool. Back to the hotel, and then there was a building that I guess had been there for 5, 6, 700 years, right? Forever. That was its own museum, and it was just around the corner, and it was like a manor that someone had lived in for a period of time. And so I was able to kind of tour that and see that by myself. And
Oh, very
that was
cool.
nice.
I
And
love
I'll
that.
throw in one more,
Yeah.
this was Emily's favorite for sure. There's a giant park that is probably 20, 30 minutes from the city center there, that was just gorgeous and lovely and super super hot, but that's what you get when you go to Barcelona in
Right. In the
July.
summer. Yeah.
And some beautiful architecture and artwork there that we got to post some pictures for, and so that was definitely her highlight too.
Oh, awesome. Where did you guys stay? And did you stay in the same place on the front end and the back end, or did you go to two different
I
places?
mean, we would have loved to. We were just booking so late and had such a unique party size
Hmm.
that we weren't able to. So on the way in, we were more or less the same area both times. But city center, downtown, we had what really did not feel like a European hotel room.
Oh,
It was a full suite.
oh,
We had
fantastic.
I think like three separate bedrooms, and not. I mean, it might have been 300 or 400 euros, but not insane pricing, right?
Wow.
For all of us on the way in. And then we did have two separate rooms for the kind of little bit of a swankier spot on the way out.
What were the names of the two different spots? Do you remember?
Oh, I should look them up. I'm so sorry, Sam. I didn't
That's
didn't write
okay.
them down.
That's okay. No worries.
We
We
can put them in the
can.
show notes, maybe. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
perfect. Exactly. We'll do that. All right.
yeah,
Well, tell me, you had the taxis booked for the port transfer, right? So I
yeah,
assume that happened.
yeah.
Tell us, like, or I keep saying us because I'm so used to having Brian here with me. Sorry, guys. I know that sounds weird when I say tell us when it's tell me. Tell the audience. That's us, I guess. How was the transfer? Like, was it, relatively easy to get to the port? How far are we talking? Obviously, you were able to run it, but you're a marathoner, so like that's not really a good judge of how, the distance. Like, because you might have ran 10 miles to it, or you might have run 2 miles to it. I don't know.
Barcelona's pretty compact for the most
Hmm.
part, depending where you go. But I think we were like 12 minutes, 15 minutes
Oh,
tops, right?
fantastic.
It was super close, which was nice. And so yeah, pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Driver showed up on time. The only little bit of not even a snag, but a surprise, definitely a surprise, is that we were used to. At least our experience, if I'm recalling correctly, at Port Canaveral was, you can book just about the drop just about any of your luggage, and it shows up at your room. And so we had kind of planned and packed accordingly, right? So we've got like one or two little bags, and that's for pool and stuff, and then plan for everything else to go straight to the room. Barcelona cruise terminal, if it doesn't get checked on an airplane, it doesn't get checked at Barcelona cruise terminal. So
Oh, so like backpacks and stuff they won't take? It
all of
basically
our
has to
carry
be what.
on had to be carried on, right?
Oh my
And
goodness.
so you can imagine like baby and all that was a little bit of a surprise. So
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. What about like so I guess the car seat probably they would take, or
They
no?
took the car seat, yep.
Okay. Well,
But
that's key because schlepping around a car seat is no
yep,
fun whatsoever.
but
Yeah.
everything else we kind of had to schlep ourselves.
Oh, that's a big difference though, because I mean, obviously, like you mentioned at Port Canaveral, but even at like, San Diego, all the other ports, like if you want to put a backpack on, you can put a backpack on. It just has to have one of those tags on it, right? You can it doesn't have to be a piece of luggage like a suitcase. It can be a smaller bag. And I mean, frankly, you can check anything. Of course, you don't want to check something that they're gonna like crush because they're not handling that luggage very like gently. But wow, yeah, that's a good to know.
So thankfully the room was ready, and it was just a fair bit of carrying. We're silver castaway, of course, so we were able to get on a little bit earlier this time. The last one, I think we were frankly one of the last groups getting on, so we didn't get a ton of time free before getting on. But this time we played it right and got our aqueduct in before it got too busy, and we're one of the earlier groups on board, which was nice.
Awesome. Now, was the sailing relatively full? And I want to also know is what were sort of the demographics? When I say demographics, I mean like, are these mostly European cruisers, English cruisers, or are we talking still mostly American? I've heard it's been more heavily non-American this Europe season.
You know, it's probably severely biased in terms of who we spoke to and
Hmm.
chatted with, right? At least my gut reaction to that is it really didn't feel that different than the Caribbean one, honestly,
Oh,
that
funny.
we did the year before. We met people from Canada and the United States, and that was primarily it. Again, it may have been who we were engaged with, right? And certainly there were many Europeans, right? But not any more, not to the extent that like it was a dominant
Yeah.
you know crew there or anything at
Oh,
all. So
interesting. I
yeah.
wonder if it's been because the ones that have been out of Southampton, we have heard from a lot of that we've recorded from this season, have seemed to sort of suggest a lot more British cruisers, right? And some European cruisers, but mostly Brits, and then very few Americans or
Mm,
Canadians, right? So like interesting about, but it might be because this is a longer sailing, meaning that, a 7 night versus sort of like a lot of these shorter sailings are real easy for folks, who live driving distance to Southampton to get on. They're also a little bit cheaper. So if somebody's sort of wanting to try out the cruise line for the first time, that's a good opportunity. Whereas if you're talking mainland Europe, you're talking a whole week. A lot of Americans sailing for their summer vacation, sort of a thing. Well, interesting. Well, was it relatively full?
it didn't feel yes, but not to the extent it was insane.
Okay. Yeah,
It was I don't know. I don't know the best metric for tracking that, but
sure.
the aqueduct got up to 30, 45 minutes, right? And
Sure.
usually not much more than that. But it didn't feel like uncomfortably full at all. No.
Yeah. What about character lines? Did those seem to be longer than the cruise that you went on?
I feel like slightly shorter because perhaps, and again, just a hypothesis, but you've got some pretty epic stops here, right? Like you're going to Rome, you're going potentially to Pisa, you're going to Naples, to Sicily, right? Like these are stops where you typically are staying on as long as you can,
Yes,
off,
for
I
a full
suppose, as long as you
day.
can,
Yeah.
right? And so it didn't. Characters weren't quite as long as the last one, I would say. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump right to the ports. You had four amazing Italian ports after
Hmm.
leaving Barcelona. Um, so you only had a couple of sea days. I mean, this is a port heavy trip. So we're gonna focus on the ports, and then we'll jump back on board and just hit some onboard highlights. Of course, I got to know how the baby enjoyed the nursery. But let's start with your first port of call.
Yeah, so the port I believe is called Livorno, and out of Livorno you've got a lot of options. You can go to Pisa. I think it's sort of the main one that folks go to. But we saw one of the Disney excursions, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this, but it was a Cinque Terre boat tour,
Ah, Cinque
and
Terre.
Cinque Terre, yes.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I
I'm
get
probably not saying it right either, but I got a little
you
closer than you.
better than mine, yeah. And so I believe we got on. It was a lovely experience. Beautiful islands. I mean, obviously it's touristy, but you're kind of so far removed that it actually feels a little bit more local to some extent. My only not even we knew it going in. There's to complain about it would be foolish, but it was a bit of a long haul to get there, right? So it's a good like 80-90 minute bus ride. I think it was like a 6 a.m. port like call time for the for
Ooh,
meeting to get off the port,
yeah.
right? So you can't
But
be
your kids are
can't
probably up early anyway because they're
baby,
young.
yeah. So can't be out at the disco till hours
Right,
before.
right.
And then after that, like a boat, like a good hour on the boat to get to island number one, another 20-30 minutes to get to island number two, and then an hour back. So you're probably traveling a good like half of the day. But it's one of those areas of the world I don't know if you're ever going to get to otherwise, right? So just beautiful. We did about I want to say 45 minutes on the first island, and then maybe an hour and a half or so on the second. And you got some time to wander around, to shop. The second stop was long enough. We sat down and had a meal. And I would say definitely worth it. Once, you know what I mean? It's not, if I was ever to go back to that area, I would like do a week, do a day or two on each island and really dig in. But for the limited time we had, it was a fun
Oh,
one.
awesome. Now, I've got to ask a question about Sam, because baby Sam, not me, Sam, obviously. I'm going to assume he was free probably on most or if not all of your excursions, because it's usually 0 to 2, are not, you sort of can't book for them, but you can bring them because they're in your arms, kind of a
And
thing.
and it's one thing where don't believe everything you read on the internet. One of there was a Facebook group for our cruise, of course, and I think there was like, never got heated, but there was some debate in both directions of like, can the baby do this? Can the baby not do this? And I think Disney could be ever so slightly more explicit in like, can the baby do this or not? Some of them the baby cannot, some of them the baby can, some of the baby can and are free, some of the baby can't, have to pay for. I think it comes down to like, do they take up a seat or not? Is my understanding. So no, I believe Sam was free for that. He was free for the activity we did in Naples. And I think there are a few, depending on exactly what it is, where he would have been an added cost. But yeah, we were fortunate there.
Well, and one tip I'll give for those listening is, if you can't book them through the app, read the description very carefully, and I go actually onto the website, because the
Mm-hmm.
website usually has the full information about whether or not you can bring someone under the age of 3. And then it makes it more clear that you can bring them, but they're free, right? So you don't book them through the app. You book the other, for Rob, the other 5 members of the party, but Sam is able to come on the lap. Um, but if it's unclear it's not going to be clear in the app. Let me be very clear about that. The app is not going to have this information. You have to go onto the website and actually look up the full description of the excursion, or you have to call Disney Cruise Line to figure out, whether or not you can book this for your family if you are going to bring the baby with you. So like, that's my tip. It's not, as Rob explained it, it's not clear from Disney, and there's always debate about this, and sometimes it does require a phone call. So, all right, well, let's talk about your second port of call.
So second one's the big one.
Yeah,
Is
Rome, right?
Rome, right?
I'm going to butcher it. Civitavecchia, or
Cinque Terre, yes.
yeah, there we go.
So I had been to Rome kind of as my first big European trip ever. 22 years ago. So we went grade 12, high school, and so I have a lot of like affinity for Rome. We were there about 2 weeks when I was that age, and so really got to see it. So 10 hours is not 2 weeks, so you got to be picky and choosy. Here's another be wary of DIY travel booking lesson for everybody. Disney had obviously some good tours on there, and Disney also had the ability, I believe, to book a private car. We wanted both a private car and a private tour, and if Disney does that, I wasn't aware of it because I went and booked something on my own. And we booked with a company called Tours Italy that has been around for 25 years, has a great reputation, long time. I tracked down the owner on LinkedIn, and like, she exists and it's real. Here's what had happened, and I felt very stupid for this. I work in technology. Like, I invest in technology. Like, I should not have stuff like this happen to me. But here's where here's where you've really got to watch the scammers. So I had been in communication with tours-italy.com just about, hey, can we book a baby seat, and like, can the baby come, and all these sort of logistical questions. My suspicion is they got hacked, because in the email chain, suddenly they start replying, and I notice a week later after we got scammed that it's
Oh
T0URS-Italy.com.
no.
And I'm normally good enough and sharp enough to notice that, but it
Yeah.
was in response
To
to
your
my
email. So,
emails,
yeah,
right?
if
So
it
you're
wasn't
thinking,
you got an email out of the blue from some
yeah,
other, that you, a new email that you might pay
yeah.
attention to the email address. Oh my god,
And
Rob.
so I'm going to pay on their website, which is a
Yeah,
legitimate website and has payment processing and everything.
right.
And
Looks like everything.
and this actually, I think there was their website, which is why I think they were hacked.
Yeah.
It would not process payment. It wouldn't take it. And so then they asked for PayPal, and that's where I feel really stupid because it was in the
Oh.
email chain and the website was working. So I sent the money on PayPal. And then I am smart enough, thankfully, to have noticed this. When they started asking me to like confirm that it had been shipped or whatever, I'm like, oh, I got, right? So I was
Oh.
able both to file with PayPal and get every cent back, right? And it
Oh,
only took a
good.
couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
all's well that ends well there. And
But
then
probably
actually,
because you realized it so quickly too.
yeah, and I had the back and forth, and then of course, as
Yeah.
soon as I initiate the claim on PayPal, they're emailing me saying, "Please cancel the claim so we can go ahead and book." I'm like, oh, and then I did actually go to the trouble of like insisting on a phone call with this owner of the actual agency that is on LinkedIn and been there forever, and felt at ease booking again directly with them, not on PayPal. And they showed up and they were lovely, and it all worked out. But a good again lesson in like the extent of some of the scams. I mean I'm sure it's everywhere in the world, but
They're so
Europe in
good.
particular can get really really good, right?
Yeah, well, and I
Um,
think they do a really good job of copying, making it look like if you link through an email to a website, like the website looks like the real website, right? Like they
yeah.
completely copy the real website, and it may only be if you notice like some typos or something.
And
I
in a
mean,
direct response to my email,
yeah,
right?
which means
So
exactly they
which
had
means
hacked
they must
their
have gotten
email.
hacked. So,
Yeah, at least
but
their email had gotten hacked, or either. I mean, I guess technically it could have been your email that got hacked, but more likely their email got hacked
I think so.
because they would have. I mean, it's sort of a lot to. They were probably doing this to multiple people, right? And so
Yeah,
it's a big investment if they just hacked your email. It's not a big investment if they hacked their email because then they're trying to do this to a whole bunch of people at once. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But all's well that ends well. Driver showed up nice and early. Driver brought us into the city center, and then had the separate tour guide there as well. And so we were able to get around to the major sites in Rome. My son is named Trevor, and so Trevi. We had to see the Trevi Fountain.
Oh, for
Um,
Trevi.
for Trevi, right?
Trevi,
Uh,
do you have a picture of Trevi at the Trevi at the Trevi fountain?
I will send it. I will send it for sure. Yeah, we can take a
Yeah.
look. Um, but would that be helpful, Sam? I could get pictures up while we're live if it's
No, because I don't
no,
have. I actually don't
yeah,
have a. I don't have a
screen share.
way
Got
of
it. Got it.
screen sharing on
I'll
the.
give you some good photos. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will say, for those that have been to Rome 20 years ago, like me, it's a lot more popular now than it used
Yeah,
to be.
it's
And
a little
so
more crowded. There's a line
um,
at the Trevi fountain
there's
now,
you either
right?
got to like pre-book or get in the line, and so we just did a nice little walk by, and
Yeah.
that was fine. But in some of the driving around of Rome, you gotta love young kids, right? You gotta love young kids. So we saw the Trevi Fountain. We saw some of the big stuff. We did do a tour of the Colosseum as well. And we were only in there maybe 45 minutes to an hour, right? Like it wasn't a proper tour, but young kids and limited time, right? And so it was very cool to get in and out. But in amongst all the driving around, my kids spotted the bat signal. The bat signal for my kids is the Build-A-Bear logo.
Oh
And so
no! Oh,
in
that's too bad.
between like Colosseum and Parthenon and this, they saw a toy store, and I'm like, they don't have a Build-A-Bear in Rome, Italy, right?
Yeah, they do.
But they asked to go back to the toy store with our remaining 45 minutes to an hour or so. And so it's like, okay, mom and dad and Lisa have picked everything all day. We'll go to the stupid toy store, right? And they had a Build-A-Bear in Rome, Italy. And so we spent 45 minutes of our quite expensive
Of your
Rome day
expensive.
in Build-A-Bear. By the way, for those that don't know, Build-A-Bear, and now I understand why, is one of the top performing stocks of the last 5 years. It has outperformed
Wow.
like just about any of the hot flying in NVIDIA, all these companies. You'd have more money if you invested in Build-A-Bear. So we invested in Build-A-Bear, and now we have more little Build-A-Bears that we brought all the way home from
Oh
Rome.
my
So
God.
that was our Rome day.
I gotta say, I think they do a really good job with some of those collaborations that they do, right? They've got a
Yeah.
lot of good Disney and How to Train Your Dragon and Harry
Pokemon.
Potter and Pokemon. Yeah, so they have all these collabs, and it's not just the actual stuffies, right? Like the plush, stuffed animals. It's also the clothing and accessories that they sell, and so I think
Yeah,
it's
those are real
such a
cheap.
it's such
Real
a
cheap. Yeah.
racket. Oh my God. You can find some knockoffs online, I'm just saying. I love that. All right. Well, a long day in Italy. Did you guys did you stop for gelato at any of these places? I
We
feel like you
did.
have
No,
to,
I think
right?
multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the kids. That's the only we got to keep them sugared and hydrated,
And
right?
actually, Barcelona too had some excellent gelato too. So that was a popular stop for us. And was able to do that a couple of times. The tour guide, sometimes the tour guides recommend the restaurant that maybe isn't the best, that like they just happen to know, right? And we obviously that may have happened this time, but we really did have a nice like late lunch in Rome that
Oh, good.
was a good breather during the day there. So
Yeah.
I had thought, well, we don't have that much time. We'll just grab something on the go. But no, sitting down and actually having a meal
Yeah,
was
I
kind of
mean that's a
nice. Yeah.
long day, especially with three kids. That's a very long day. You do need a break. And now, did the kids like sleep in the car ride back to the port?
A little bit, yeah. They're pretty early sleepers most of the time
Mhm.
anyway, right? Like even the 8-year-old now is like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Obviously a little later a bunch of times on this trip.
Sure, on the trip, yeah.
With some of the activities that were going on, and like the good thing, anybody with a baby, I will say, unless you've got a challenging baby, and there's certainly many of them, but particularly challenging one, a lot of them will just like they'll sleep wherever. And if you can kind of
Yeah.
train them to do that a little bit, sometimes you wear them, sometimes you get them in a stroller, like they'll just nod off. Don't worry about like, oh, it's got to be nap time at 12:47 to 1:47, right? Like they'll adapt, right?
Yeah. I think the baby wearing is key. That was when Nathan was real little. Like I will say airplanes were kind of a nightmare at that age, because
Yeah.
when once he started crawling and stuff and you had to stay in the seat, that's really where it's a pain. But the baby wearing to just like go from place to place or go shopping, right? Like that I can't remember the name of the carrier that I had, but that I would, wear with the straps, and that was that was always easier for me, it seemed, than the stroller, only because especially in cities, I feel like if you've got like, if you're in the suburbs and you got these, and you're going to the grocery store, a stroller's great. You're going, you're on big sidewalks, is great. But like older cities where like they're not quite ADA compliant, let's put it that way, then the strollers actually can be, quite difficult.
The
But
stroller is just nice for us with the we've got the ride on board at the back of it. So
oh
like
yeah.
one of the other kids
Oh,
will
one of the
take the
kids can.
back, right? And
Yeah.
then you've got it like I will probably bring
And
a
to put the
stroller.
stuff under the
That's the
stroller.
other one, right?
Yes,
That's
it's
the
the
other
stuff.
one. It's
That's what we
key,
did at the
right?
parks, yeah. When we
Yeah.
were at the parks, Nathan was like, I can't remember, like, I feel like he was like 7 or 8, or I think we, like, continued renting a stroller at the parks until he was, like, 8, because it was just, like, well, 1, it's a lot of walking, but 2, all of the souvenirs, all of the stuff you need to bring
I
for
may
them,
never
the
give mine up.
snacks.
I'll go,
Yeah. You'll have
a
you'll
place for
have
my stuff, right?
18-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sam will be 18 and you'll be
Yeah.
pushing a stroller just for the storage. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, let's talk about your third port of call.
So third was Naples, and so Naples was purposefully a little bit of a lighter day, right? I think both in terms of port arrival and departure time, but also just I think everybody by then is kind of getting a little bit
Tired.
exhausted.
Yeah.
But we did a lovely activity with Disney, booked Disney excursion where it was pizza making for the kids,
Oh,
and
perfect. Yeah.
so got to do a little walking tour of the city. And then we had the most. I should have written the guy's actual name down, but we had the most lovely cast member that was working in retail on the shop on the boat, but then also like just sort of the accompaniment on land. A dead ringer, and he's the one who gives himself this nickname, Bubbles from I believe Lilo and Stitch, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so like sunglasses and
Yeah.
big
The
bulky
suits,
guy,
big
right?
arms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And so Bubbles and Trevor, my middle child, was, the 8-year-old kind of goes off on her own. We're mom and dad with the baby. Trevor kind of needed a buddy the whole time, and so Bubbles was
Oh,
Trevor's buddy the
Bubbles
whole
was his
time.
buddy.
Yeah.
That's so
And so we put in a
fun.
nice like good card for Bubbles, and his Bubbles kept joking, was like, Trevor, you got to go make me some pizza. Like I'm going to be coming for that pizza, right? How's that pizza, right?
How's that pizza coming?
So the pizza making was great. It was, the only thing is it was in a like 2 stories down in a basement of
Right.
an Italian restaurant that had no air conditioning, and so it got quite hot.
Oh, yeah. And those pizza
In there,
ovens. Yeah.
that too, right?
Yeah.
But that was a really fun experience, and you did get some time with other kids that, of course, then you would later see, at
On
the
the
pool or
ship.
whatever
Yeah.
on the ship and stuff. So we had that happen quite a bit. But that one was a nice, easier day. I think we were off
Mhm.
at 8 or 9, back by like 2 or 3. Had the pizza for lunch, obviously,
Right.
and that was bit
Yeah,
of an
lunch is
easier day.
included with your
Yeah.
excursion. Well, and that's classic. I mean, that's a perfect excursion in Naples anyway, because as everyone knows, Naples is like the birthplace of pizza. It's the best pizza in the world supposedly is from Naples, and so that's what you do in Naples. So when in Naples,
When in
make
Naples.
pizza. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, your fourth port of call.
So my guess, I won't even say understanding. I don't know if Disney gets to Sicily very often, because there weren't a ton of excursions available. It definitely had like 60-70% fewer than the other ones, and we really wanted a beach day, right? Like we took, obviously with the last cruise, Bahamas and Castaway Key and things, like we wanted a beach day here, even in Europe, and there wasn't one in the excursion list, and so we kind of had to hack our own together. We used a local Sicilian travel company that actually exists and is not a scam, to book private transfer from the boat to a beach club. But I was proud of myself here. The travel company had a recommendation for, I think the terminology actually is beach club. And it literally is a club on the beach where you can pre-register and reserve day beds and towels and umbrellas and everything. And so I had done it early enough that we were like right alongside the water. We were the right first front row, which was great for when the kids would go and play, and you could kind of sit back and have a drink, and the kids go and come back. And they had a restaurant on site, but they were also cool if you brought in food from across the road. And so that was just a very nice, relaxing, chill, sort of day at the beach. And I mean, probably orders of magnitude cheaper than any other excursion that we did, right? Like it was just, I think $10-20 for each umbrella table, and then $20 for the taxi, $20, right? Like it was maybe $100 all in for the 6 of us, right? So it was
That's
a nice,
amazing.
nice budget day there, but also just a nice, relaxing one too. So.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. That sounds like I mean, it also sounds like a perfect way to kind of end a series of busy port days where I'm imagining your port days were one right after the other.
They were, yeah, no rest
Yeah.
for the wicked, right? It was sea
Yeah.
day at the front, sea day at
The
the
seat at the
back, and
back,
then
yep.
yeah,
It's the same as in Alaska, it's because
mm,
your distance that you need to cover is at the front end and the back end, and all
yeah,
the ports you're going to are relatively close to one another, and so,
yeah,
in fact, you're probably if you were to look at, what the ship did during the night, it's probably lots of, like, circles and figure eights and all of that because they
yeah,
do
yeah,
lots of
yeah.
zigzagging 'cause they're really not going that far between, Rome and Naples, for example. Yeah, even though, it's only a few hours if you were to travel by, like, train, for
Hmm.
example.
So if
Well,
you miss your port stop, you can always
right,
take
you
a
can
right if you
that
had
that
to.
is that is one benefit. I mean, but then you have to deal with Train Italia, and
Mm.
I am going to just say Brian and I have still a running, comments that if something is just, like, kind of awful, we just say, Train Italia." So, that's
Fair
literally
enough.
and that is from, a trip that we took, oh gosh, it's, 20 years ago now, in 2025, following our taking the Washington State bar exam, we took a trip over to Italy and spent about 2 weeks. We went to 3 or 4 no, 4 cities basically in Italy, and did it by train, and it was still a wonderful trip, but do not recommend Train-Italia, I gotta say. Well, and schlepping large suitcases and all of that. It's I would rather do it by cruise. I'd rather do it by ship. Well, I wanna ask you, Rob, about the experience on board, especially the experience with an infant on board, because the first time you cruise was just with your two older kids, and they're kids club age, so they're still young, but they weren't infants, and so it's a different experience. How did you find the staff and the experience with the kids club, but also even with main dining, because it's main dining is kind of long. Babies don't love to sit for that long. Like, yeah, how was sort of the overall experience on the ship with baby Sam?
Super easy. I got to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love that.
the nursery's great. Obviously, we pre-booked for that whenever we could, but there was usually pretty good availability. I'd imagine that might be a function of where we were, right? Like there were probably not as many babies on this as there would be
Hmm.
a bit of a lighter cruise, and so we had a few. Hey, do you have room? Yes, we do. Drop them off, right? But if the topic is on board and baby Sam, I gotta tell this. So one thing we did a bit different this time around was
Did he do
he
the diaper dash?
he sure did. He sure
Oh,
did.
yes.
And we weren't sure whether, because we knew the age it would sort of line up, but we weren't really sure because he wasn't crawling prior to the cruise. We did a lot of game shows and karaoke this time around. We did very few of those last time, but just really launched onto them this time around. And so in the midst, and so I think it's the D lounge where you've got like a fair bit of room, and we kind of realized, like, yes, Sam's obviously he's been out of the stroller and out of whatever, but hasn't really had a lot of room anywhere in a
Mhm.
while, and so we've got him out of the stroller on the ground, and we notice he's moving and he's crawling, and so he crawled for the first time on the boat, and so.
Oh,
We figured, you know what, like that's our calling, right? So that was like
that's amazing, Rob. You
isn't
got
that
to
great?
so now the Disney Fantasy will always be the place that baby Sam first crawled, in D
It
Lounge.
forever and always, right? And
Oh.
so that set baby Sam up for his grand debut in the Jack Jack baby race. About 2 days
Oh.
later, there were only, I think, two heats of like four or five
Yeah,
babies each, so it wasn't
yeah.
wasn't a huge population.
I
And the
will tell you,
last
I've been on a cruise there
with
was the
no
Wish Maiden Voyage, there were only 2 babies on the whole
really,
ship, and so
there you
there
go.
was 1 heat, and then there was 1 champion, so
Well, alas, there were a few more experienced
uh,
crawlers than Baby Sam. I will say, if Baby Sam went now, a scant 6-8 weeks later,
yeah,
I think he'd stand a fighting chance because he can
yeah.
move now. But as the rookie of the bunch, he alas was not successful. But
The
we were
timing
all
it's funny, the timing has to be just right, because there's this, like, there's this time where they're just learning to crawl, where they have don't like, they might fall over half the time, they can't go very far, they're not very fast, and then, like, there's the sweet spot where they're like, "I want that thing." They're very, like, one track mind, "I will go for that stuffy or that toy and we'll race," right? And then, but shortly thereafter, you start them they start to stand and they start to walk, and you can't get them to crawl anymore. So it's like there's this very short window for Jack Jack Cyber Dash. So you're
and not
lucky
only
you
that,
even fell
if
in
you
it.
stand up and walk, you lose. You're out.
Yeah,
So
right.
that
Yeah, you're
is,
DQ'd.
well, they're on that
Yeah.
side. But aside from that, it was so much fun. And for the dining, we would kind of run into this pattern with early dining. Obviously, right? I
Mhm.
would never do. I don't think I'd ever do late dining anyway. Even
You
even
might.
with even
You'd be
yeah,
surprised, Rob. I mean,
yeah,
it probably depends. Well, you live on, the East Coast, so, like, maybe
yeah,
not, but, like, when your kids get older, you might change your
yeah.
tune.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We did the early, and we found that inevitably, like, it was actually the older two kids that kind of started to like
Oh,
get
yeah.
annoyed and annoying a little bit by the end. So we would eat a pretty quick dinner, and then kind of I would rush them off to the kids club, and then we'd enjoy dessert and drinks, the adults and Sam, sort of afterwards. And then it would be there weren't too many nights where. we left Sam at the nursery and then did the night thing. It was usually one of us staying back with the baby. I feel like Pirate Night was the one night where we all sort of stayed at, like, where we had Sam at the nursery and then everybody stayed out fairly late. But you can't plan a lot of this with young kids, right? Especially
Very hard.
Trevor being 5, like Maisie at 8, like kind of is up for anything and will stay up late all the time. Trevor's a crapshoot, and if he wants to go to bed, Emily's perfectly happy to take him to bed, right? She's seen Pirate Night before, so
right. That's right. Didn't she go on her own to Pirate Night?
Yeah. So
yeah, no, that's smart. I mean, it is. You have to really play it by ear, and of course, if Trevor wants to go to bed, then whoever's taking him to bed can take baby Sam back, right, and put him down to bed. And so you only need one of the adults to, be back at the room or rooms, because you had the adjoining rooms. That's the other part, is even if the kids are sleeping in different rooms with the adjoining door, that's super, super helpful. I got to ask, how was it bringing friend and nanny along with you? It was obviously her first time. And you said, I mean, not a lot of experience flying, no experience on a cruise. Like, how was that? I mean, I'm sure it was helpful to have another pair of hands, but how was the experience?
Well, so we've known Lisa now for about 5 years, and she's become part of the family, and we did have her to Disney about a year ago. So not her first rodeo with us on the road. And she's just super chill and super, like, almost like a little kid in some regard of like new and wondrous, and trying, like, I'd say probably tried a dozen or many dozens of different new foods that she had never tried before, right?
Yeah.
In her travels with us, so it's kind of cool to see that as well, right? We're actually bringing her daughter, who is 20 and has never been to the parks before. We're all going to the parks for the marathon in January. So, seeing like childhood delight at an adult age is kind of cool. So no, she's a trooper. She did a bunch of overnights with the baby, and was super needed and super helpful, and couldn't have done it without her. So
yeah, well, it's a lot. I mean, obviously, just the travel, just the airplane part of travel, it's a lot for, if you've got an infant and 2 elementary age kids, that you're working zone defense if there's only 2 of you. And so if you can go man on man with 3 adults and 3 children, it's just quite a bit easier. I mean, I prefer the 2-on-1 that we have, I'll be honest. But not different. Some people want to have more than one child. I totally understand that. Yeah. Well, it sounds like an amazing, amazing trip, Rob. Have we missed anything? Was there how did the kids like the kids club? I forgot to ask about that.
Yeah.
Obviously they did it at the previous cruise, but did they, did they warm up to it more, or anything change in that regard?
Yeah. So, I mean, Trevor was 5 this time around versus, 3.5 last time. And so, I mean, we had the odd Trevor wants to get picked up text last time, and had none of that this time. So he really settled in, and it was kind of nice for him to be there for, extended periods of time, and like actually want to be there for extended periods of time. The one new thing we did this time around that we hadn't last time, we did get to book early enough to do the Royal Court tea,
nice.
Which was super fun. And
did you do it with all the kids, or was it?
We had everybody there. Yeah, we had everybody there. I think we might have had Sam at the nursery. I think we might have had Sam at the nursery for it, but
that's a smart call, because you don't. Like, well, he's not going to get the gifts, because the gifts are for the 3 to 12-year-old crowd.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he would get anything out of the royalty at that age, right? Yeah.
Our only error with that was, I think we had ended up having a bit of a late lunch, and so we really had no appetite going into it, so didn't get to enjoy maybe as much as we would have. But the experience was excellent. The performers are great, and that was a lot of fun. Maybe not a do it every single time one, but certainly very enjoyable, and had a nice family at the table with us. And so that was great. We did Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique again. And I tear up because I know I'm running out of time with Maisie to do it because she's our only girl. Trevor did it too, so I mean I've got more
Yeah,
time with him. But
listen,
there's just
maybe
not as many outfits, right? For the
right. I mean, baby Sam might want to be Captain Mickey,
there you
on
go.
the Wish or the Treasure, so
We only did it once, though. We didn't do the splurge of the pirate
yeah,
boutique this time around, which was a bit much last time.
yeah.
And then the only other new thing we did this time around, we didn't do Palo or Remy at night,
Mhm.
but we did do the Palo brunch.
Oh,
And
yes.
and I gotta say, I think that for me topped either of the dinners. To be honest, it was amazing.
It
And
is.
we had a server that like we thought we ordered a lot. Like I think we had like a couple of appetizers and soup and two mains. And the guy's joking like, "Oh, you got to try the lasagna. You got to try the lasagna." He brings out a full serving of the lasagna as well, and like I found I found room for it. Right?
I mean, you can't help but find room for their lasagna with the bechamel sauce. I mean,
And it's like, oh, lasagna is like their number one. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, it is, right? Like, it was one of the
good.
best. I'd say that was probably the best meal. Yeah, I'd say the trip was
Yeah.
that Palo brunch for us. And so that
I will
was
say that
yeah.
does not surprise me. I think of the adult dining meals, while I love Remy dinner, I think Remy dinner is just phenomenal. I think Palo brunch puts every one of the other. I mean, it's a completely different experience, right? Like it's very much more accessible food than like a tasting menu at Remy dinner, but it's just so good. Like the quality is so good, the atmosphere is so good. I love that you can order whatever you want. It's all inclusive versus sort of an a la carte like the dinner is. And all of the Italian dishes are just fantastic. I know there are people who like the egg dishes or the breakfast stuff. I stay away from that because I think I'm not gonna waste the room in my stomach. I wanna eat the
Calzone.
right. I mean, the calzone is really good, but I'd rather get one of the flatbreads, the pizzas than the
Yeah.
calzone, although I think the calzone is actually really good. But yeah, I'm just like, I mentioned this on a show, I think pretty recently. I one time ordered the giant Mickey waffle just because I wanted really the picture of the giant Mickey waffle. I ate one ear of it and I was like, "This is completely not worth it." Like it wasn't even. I mean, the ones you get in Cabanas or Marceline Market are better. Um, this was just kind of a meh, like dry waffle, even with syrup. So I was like, why would I eat this? Give me more of that tomato soup, or give me more of that chicken parm, or that lasagna, or pizza, or any of the other. I mean, any of the other amazing things that Palo Brunch has. And I honestly think it's quite a good value considering how much, I know there are people who don't want to do any add-on dining. I understand that. Like you don't have to. You can get great food. That's all included. And but I think if you're looking for a meal that is adult only, that is a great value. I think that the Palo Brunch is absolutely the way to go.
It
Yeah.
was phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, Rob, we did a rapid fire on your last episode, so I'm not going to do a rapid fire except to ask you cruising in Europe versus cruising in the Bahamas. If you have to choose between those two, I mean, completely different style of cruising, I would say, but you're on the same ship, so it's really you can compare them more easily.
I feel like the cruising in the Bahamas, it's more of a regular every couple of years kind of thing,
Mhm.
whereas the cruise in Europe is, I think, like a once every 5, 10, sort of thing. I feel like there's just a lot of, I don't know, logistical hacks you get
Mhm.
with the cruising in Europe that fit our current situation really, really well. Of like, we want to see a lot, but it's hard to travel with young kids, and so
Yeah.
it's easier to get around. So, I mean, I think both were amazing trips. I feel like we'll probably do the Caribbean a little bit more often.
Yeah.
But this was, trip of a lifetime too. So it's hard to say the Caribbean, even though we're going to do it more often, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will say too, the fact that we had done the boat already, right? Like this was our second
Mhm.
time on the same ship. I don't know if I would have booked it otherwise, right? Like I feel like we wouldn't have gotten not our money's worth, but we wouldn't have gotten enough out of the boat if it was a brand new ship that we had never been on before.
Fair. Yeah. Like
This,
you
you
wouldn't
know,
want to necessarily be on the Destiny, for example, in Europe, when she comes out, because
mhm.
there's so much you want to experience on the ship. And if you're
Yes,
at doing like a port heavy itinerary,
yeah,
where you really want to spend not just you want to go out, but you want to go out you're going out for
the
10
whole day.
hours, for
Yeah,
example, the whole day. Yeah, that's probably not the best place to be able to really explore a new ship. So I think
yeah.
that that's a very smart, yeah, judgment call. All right. Well, I've got to ask Brian's last question, which is always, what's next? I mean, did you book another placeholder? Are you eyeing some other cruise itineraries? I know you've got the Walt Disney World Dopey. You are crazy. You're doing that in just a few months, and actually probably about the time this episode will come out, you um probably shortly after you'll be running the Dopey. So good luck to you on that. But do you have any cruise plans in the near future?
So we actually have two booked.
Wow.
One we're going over to the dark side. Mom and dad solo, no kids.
Oh, wow.
We just wanted to try. We figured we'd try Celebrity just to see. Part of it was itinerary and timing. I get a week
Sure.
off from my teaching, and it was like there was one itinerary that fit really well. So we'll try that and probably just book Disney even for adults only in the future, but
Yeah.
just to give it a shot.
Where is
Uh,
that out of?
Out of Fort Lauderdale, and does a quick little Key West, quick little 4 night.
Oh, you're gonna love Key West if you haven't been already. It's a really lovely place. We did a nice little food tour there when we sailed on our first time on Virgin. We stopped at Key West, and it was, yeah, we were very happy with our day there. So yeah, I'm sure that'll be great. And then what's the other one you've got booked?
Well, yeah, and so we did do the placeholder, and then about a month after we got back, we were out at one of the local county fairs with a good friend of mine. Actually, one of the guys that was on the Rome trip with me 22 years ago in high school,
Oh,
and he's got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, no baby, and probably no baby even in the future, but
no baby
um,
in the future.
but same ages, down to like a couple of months difference of my older two. And I said, "Hey Scott, you want to go to Disney cruise?" And we had been to Disney World together before, 4 or 5 years ago. And he said, "Sure." And I said, "Well, our window to use our window to book 2027 itineraries as silver is up tomorrow. Like, we can get our money back, but are you sure you want to book?" He's like, "Yes." And so the same day, 60 like 24 hours before the itineraries open up to the public, we booked, and it won't be till March of 27. So it's still quite a ways away. But I guess we've got the five of us. Lisa's got to sit this one out, I'm afraid. But the five of us and Scott and his family. So 9 of us, I guess, in
Oh.
total going to Treasure, I believe, out of Port Canaveral for a week over March break. So
Oh, fantastic. You're going to love it. The Treasure is such an amazing ship. And you guys are parks people, so you're just, yeah, it's the perfect, and it's got all the stuff for all the kids. So you're going to be fine on that front, but you're going to, as parks fans, you're going to love it.
Maisie's very
Absolutely.
excited. Apparently, you slide to get to the kids club. That's her
That is
understanding.
true.
Yes, so
Correct.
she's
On the
been talking
Wish,
about
the
that.
Treasure, and any Wish class ship, they've got you can check them in down at the front counter, but you can also check them in at the podium, which is right in that grand hall. And they slide into the kids club. And you adults can actually slide into the kids club only when the whole thing is in open house mode. So day one is the best time to do that, because a lot of the time during the rest of the cruise, it will be, even if parts of it are in open house mode, it has to be the whole club, because that's where the front check-in desk is where the slide comes into. And so it's that part is usually, that part is sort of the secure part, regardless, even if one or two rooms are in open house mode. But if the rest of it's very different than the kids club you're used to, because they have these different rooms that can sort of be isolated off. So you can have parts of the club in open house mode and other parts of the club that are in secure programming mode. So anyway, but I'm sure you'll have a fabulous time. Of course, Rob, you will have to come back onto the show to tell us all about it. We'd love to have you back again. You're fabulous guest. And with that, I'll just say thank you for joining me today. thank you for all the stories. And I'm sorry that Sam's profession as a professional baby racer is probably over, unless you're going to sail in the next couple of weeks, probably.
I mean, maybe we have another baby and have another shot.
There you go. Go
I
for
don't know if that'll
baby
be
number
popular.
4.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck,
Tough sell.
Emily. That's all I'll say. Good luck, Emily. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.